So page 11, we're looking at volume of a sphere. So basically, as soon as I see volume of a sphere, before I even look at what the question is, I go over to my formula sheet, and I find the sphere, and there's the formula. 4/3, which means 4 divided by 3, times pi times radius cubed. Okay, so I'm going to go write that down. I know that if it's a test, I'll already have a mark just by doing that. And that's a pretty easy mark, right? Just identifying what you need to write down. Okay, so I'm going to write it down over here. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. There we go. Now, so all I really need to know, pi is not a variable. Pi is just a number. Has a special symbol. So don't think that that's something you need to solve for. It's just a number. This is what I need, the r. And it tells me what it is. The radius is 9.55 inches. So all I'm going to do is 4/3 pi 9.55 cubed. Now the hard part is, how do I punch that into the calculator? So on my calculator, I would punch 4 divided by 3 times, I'm actually drawing out each key that I have to press, and I'm going to do an open bracket, then I'm going to put my 9.55 in, then I'm going to close my bracket, and for me to do an exponent, I have to do the yx. You must have something different. Yours might be an xy, yours might be a little roof key, whatever it is, okay? And then I'm going to put in 3 and then equals. Okay, so 4 divided by 3 times pi, which is, oh, I forgot the pi, times pi. There we go. Times 4 divided by 3 times pi times 9.55 to the exponent. I forgot to put the brackets in, but it'll still work. Except when I accidentally hit the button. Yeah, I bumped it. 4 divided by 3 times pi times, I'll use bracket this time, 9.55 to the exponent of 3 equals, and I get 3,648. 0.37, and this was inches, so now it's going to be cubic inches. So, however, I could write cubic inches, or I could write like inches cubed. I don't know. I can't write the inch, the two little ticks, which means inches. There's no way for me to write that with a 3. Like so I pretty much have to write it out, cubic inches. And that's looks like it's a basketball or something. Okay, example 4. Determining the height if you're given the volume. Okay. So for all of these questions, you're multiplying and dividing a bunch of stuff. If they tell you the volume at the beginning, you kind of you might need to do the opposite to get the missing thing. We did that kind of before. That's come up a few times with algebra. Is when you have the answer at the end and you need something at the beginning, you kind of do everything opposite and you'll find it. So let's take a look. It says, if a manufacturer wants their shipping boxes to have a total volume of 720 cubic centimeters and the base of the box measures 15 by 8, what should the height of the box be? Okay, I better draw this. With all this shape stuff, you should always draw a sketch if you don't have one. It makes your life easier. And you get a mark for it on a test, right? So this is a box. So I'm just going to draw a box of some kind.
Hey, Pat, can you help me where my pie is on here?
Yep.
It's so complicated.
Yeah, it's annoying when they don't give it to you like in an easy spot. See, it's right there.
Okay.
So to get to it, you have to hit second. Just go second. There it is.
Okay. I thought you had to hit it once.
Second and then that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so here's my poorly drawn, it could be worse, 3-dimensional box. Okay, it says the base of the box is 15 by 8. So I'm going to say this is 15 from there to there, and this is 8. Okay? And it wants to know what the height is. So let's just call that h, which is from there to there. Okay? So it says, we know that for this kind of a shape, it's a rectangular prism. And on our formula sheet, I can show you here, it's right at the top. Volume equals length times width times height. I have the length and the width. Okay. So length times width times height. So just put in all the numbers that you know. Well, the volume is 720. The length is 15. The width is 8. And then times h. Okay. 15 times 8 I can do. I get 120 h. Now this goes back to the very first unit we did with number skills. 720 is equal to 120 times some number, which means that this h is being multiplied by 120. What's the opposite of multiplying? Divide. So I'm just going to divide both sides by 120. If I do that, this becomes 1. And then just go 720 divided by 120. And my answer is 6 centimeters. So h is 6. And once I found it, I should recheck that it all works. So just go 15 times 8 times 6 and make sure you get the right answer. So 15 times 8 times 6 equals 720. Yeah, it works. Do you remember doing that stuff way back when? So again, a question like this on a test is going to be like 3 marks. And if you draw it, you'll get a mark. If you write down 720 equals 15 times 8 times h, you'll get another mark. So you can get 2 out of 3 without even solving the last part. Okay? So if the algebra really gives you trouble, you can still get far enough into it that you can get a bunch of marks, right? That last step is that algebra piece. Okay, example 5. Determining the height if you're given the volume again. This time it's a square-based pyramid. So as soon as I see what it is, I'm going to go look at my formulas. That's what a square-based pyramid looks like. It's a square at the bottom, and then it becomes a pyramid. It goes up to 1 point. So I'm going to need to draw this, and I'm going to need to write that down. So volume equals 1/3 base squared times h, and maybe I should have drawn the square first. Oops. This is why we should use a ruler. Okay, and it says something about the height here. Okay. That's a pretty rough drawing, but whatever. So here's the volume at 48. So instead of V, I'll write 48. And it says the base of the pyramid is 4. So instead of B, I'll write 4. And we don't know what the H is. So let's do as much work as we can, which would be over here. I can go 1 divided by 3 times 4 squared. So 1 divided by 3 times 4 squared. I get 5 points and a bunch of 3's for this thing here. Okay, so h is being multiplied by this number. What's the opposite of multiplying?
Dividing.
Divide. So I'm just going to take 48 and divide by this number here. then it'll disappear there. Okay. So let's go 48 divided by, and it works out that h is 9. Works out nicely to 9. When you take 48 and divide by that. Another way to think about it for all these questions, if the question starts with the volume, you can just divide by all the other junk. Whatever you're left with has to be the missing thing, which is usually the height. Another way to think of it is that, remember at the beginning I said that really a volume is just an area stretched out, right? So if you know the volume, you can just figure out the area. And then just go volume divided by area, and that gives you the missing piece. Rather, it's a way of thinking about it without looking at the formulas, right? Just find the area. Like in this one, we just had the area of the square here, right? Was like 16. And so you think about dividing that out of the volume first. Okay, so h equals 9. Again, same thing. If you write down the form, if it was a test question, write down the formula, you get a mark. Put the correct substitutions in. Like get to this point here, you're at another mark. And then the last mark is for getting the right answer. So it's not too bad. And you should also figure out what your units are. We started out with centimeters cubed. So what do you think this is? 9 what? Yeah, just centimeters. Yeah, centimeters. It's a good habit to always keep our units. So it's not a big pyramid. It's a little tiny thing. 9 centimeters is like that. So be like a little paperweight. Okay, did you start doing the questions, hopefully? Were there any particular ones that were giving you trouble? Or so far so good?
To be honest, I never did anything.
You haven't done any of it yet?
I think we do. Looking at the kids.
There's that. Okay, same thing. So number 1, find the formula. In fact, if it were me and I wanted to be efficient, I might just go find all the formulas and write them in for each question before I do anything, right? If the first one is it's called a cone. That's the cone. So I would just write the volume of a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. Okay, so I'll write that in. Oops. And then the next one is a sphere. And that is what? 4/3 pi r cubed. The next one is a cylinder. So that's that circle multiplied by height, pi r squared h.
It's not showing in that
What?
chart.
Which one?
Oh wait, never mind.
Yeah, it's at the bottom.
Yeah, and never mind.
The next one is the volume of a square-based pyramid. And that's the one we just did. And that is 1/3. Oh wait, there's no pi. 1/3. Was it r squared h or something? Oh, they use b for base. Okay, for base. 1/3 b squared h. Okay. And this one is a triangular prism.
Volume 1.21.
And that one is 1/2 of length times width times height. Okay. It's the same idea as a triangle is like half a rectangle, the volume of a triangular prism is like half of a rectangular prism. Like, imagine a big block of cheese. If you just cut it diagonally in half, you'd have 2 triangular prisms. Or those delightful Toblerone bars. You ever had those? Triangular prism. Okay. And this one is a rectangular prism. And that's just length times width times height. Okay. I got all my formulas. Now it's just a matter of applying them. So for this one, I'm going to have 1/3 pi times 6 squared times 12.3. So it's just calculator work, and you just got to be careful. So that one is 463.7. It was feet, so we're going to say cubic feet. And this one is
Pardon the interruption. With the owner of the vehicle KS242X3 red car, please report to the office. Also, plate number KCT611 White Malibu, please report to the office. Thank you.
If it were me, I would say, come on down. You've won a free tow to the nearest towing lot. If you do not wish to accept the tow, you should move your car in about the next 10
Where
seconds.
is the parking spots for students? Is it
On that
Just on
side.
this side. It fills up though, and then people will always try to get away with parking. Because teachers have different lunches, so they'll leave and stuff. And so it'll look like there's an open spot, but then they'll come back and they're like, someone's there, right? And they get them
So
towed.
if
So
we park there, will we get told?
yeah. Yeah. But they're in, if it's a student, they'll give you the chance to move your car. And they'll give you a good like finger wag, like don't do that again, right? But sometimes it's downtown, so people will just try to get away with it, right? They'll just think they can, oh, you know, there's a spot open here, I'm just running to the mall for an hour. And if they call and no one shows up, they'll just tow it. And then once you've towed somebody once, like you ever had a car towed? It's a real pain, right? It's like $75 or $100, and you got to go get it. It's expensive and it sucks. So once it's happened to somebody once there, they won't do it again, right? Because it's punishment. You've learned your lesson, yeah. It's punishment, yeah. University is hilarious. University culture is hilarious. Students won't buy parking passes and they'll just try to get away. The lots are so huge, thousands of cars. They'll just try to get away with moving their car every class to a different spot. And you can get away with it some days, but there's a lot. But you know, and if you get a ticket, they're usually like $20, and they don't tow you. So students, there are students who will go to university for years and they'll rack up like hundreds of dollars of fees, and they don't get their transcript until they pay them.
So
Okay.
that's-
So this one, pi r squared h, so pi times 17 squared times 30. Pi times 17 squared times 30. 27,237.6 cubic feet. This one, 1/3 times 5 squared times 7. So 1 divided by 3 times 5 squared times 7. Those of you that have done these, are the answers correct in the back? Mostly? Okay. I'll finish these last two and we'll go check them. So this one, you're just going to go 2 times 3 times 6 and then divide the whole thing by 2. I probably don't need a calculator for that. It's 18. This one, just multiply all those numbers together. I probably do need a calculator for that. It's a big number. So 40 times 55 times 15. 33,000 cubic centimeters. Okay, let's just go check the let's go check the answers in the back, make sure they're all good. Assignment 3, number 1, 463.7 feet cubed, yes. B, 137.3, yes. C, 27,237.6, yes. 58.3, 18, and 30. All the answers are correct in the back for that page. So that's good. So with this stuff, because the hardest part is carefully using your calculator, if you punch it in a couple times and you can't seem to get the answer, bring it up to me and show me, and then I can watch you punching it in and I can tell you where you're going wrong, right? Because everybody's calculator is a little bit different. So it might just be, it's a punching error. It's not a math error, it's a punching error. So I need to see you do it, right? And I'll tell you how to fix what you're doing. Same problem? Yeah. Which one were you doing? One of these?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you punch it in then? Let's check it.
For example, 4D
Mm-hmm.
times exponential right?
Yeah.
4 times.
It might work if you do that,
Mhm.
but I never trust a calculator. So I'll hit times, then pi. Yeah.
Times.
9.55. Where's your exponent? Yeah.
This one.
That one. Oh yeah, you could do that, or that one. Yeah.
If I do this one,
Then you have to hit a
that's
3.
right?
That's right, yeah. Then equals. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it works. Yeah, you're good. So maybe when you put pi beside it, maybe you have to tell it to multiply, maybe, right? Even though it looks right, sometimes the calculators are, yeah. Like I always, like some calculators with displays are really good and you don't have to punch as much into them, but I never trust them, so I always tell it what it's supposed to be doing. I use the extra couple keystrokes. So same thing, tell it multiply even though it should know, right?
I told this stuff yesterday, I had to leave early because of my daughter.
Okay, right,
Instead of just walking.
okay. So I will leave you with the rest of the class to finish these word problems, and we'll go over them on, I guess not Monday, on Tuesday, all right? On Tuesday. Take your time with these. If you're already working on them and you need help, just bring it up, I'll help you. But otherwise, we'll do them together on Tuesday, okay? Which one? Oh, you want to see it? Yeah.